Welcome to Season 2 of Difference Talks, brought to you by the LeBeau Marketing, Communications, and Training Team. Our guests are inspiring people who share their stories of brand differentiation. Based on our book, The Power of Differentiation, our goal is to inspire 1 million people with the message that winning hearts and minds are the first step in growing market share. Now, on with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to Difference Talks. I'm Barry LeBeau, founder of LeBeau Marketing, Communications, and Training, author of The Power of Differentiation. My partner in crime today is my partner in business, which is Marcus McMillan. He's VP of Creative at our company. Today, our guest is Jason Finley, Global Director of Brand and Product, and that would be golf balls and package sets, at one of the greatest brands in the world, Callaway Golf. Welcome, Jason. Share a little bit about your story, and then we're diving in.
Through my time, I actually started in R&D and moved up kind of through the product and research side, and then moved into a product marketing type of roles for about the last 20 years. So kind of seen a lot happen in my time, and definitely if you go all the way back to my roots of, I'm a what I would call a golf guy, right? And so going to work every day, which is hard, but being able to do it around things that I'm passionate about and love make doing my job a lot better than it would be otherwise.
Absolutely. Anytime you can do the work in the space that you love, boy, that's a great marriage of talents. You kind of played maybe a brand of a challenger type brand. Explain that, and kind of where are you guys now? Maybe in the ball, but also, like you said, all equipment.
In the beginning stages of Callaway Golf Ball, I would say it wasn't the most successful thing that we ever did. And we were kind of middling along, I would call it, until about 2013, 14, where we really started to, get after the golf ball category in a meaningful way. And that came to life in really a few ways of, coming with some differentiated products from anything else on the market. There's a pretty established market leader in this category, and, going head to head, is tough, right? And it's been tough to grow share in this category. But, over the last 10, 11 years, we've more than, tripled our business. Our market share is triple what it was. So we've seen some pretty good growth in this category. It's really been driven by a couple things. First and foremost, and will always be for us, product, right? We are a product company, and that's at the lifeblood of everything that we do. But also a much bigger investment and commitment to that. We've spent over $100 million to reinforce what we do at our golf ball plant in Chicopee, Massachusetts. So that we can make the highest performing, highest quality products in the world, really, in this category. So it's been an exciting time to see it all evolve and happen. And we're certainly not where we want to be yet. So that's the other fun part of it, right? We've had a lot of success, but we know that we still have a pretty good runway ahead of us. So that combination has been what excites me every day when I get up.
Well, for our audience, it's important to realize a golf ball looks like a lot of other golf balls, although you should describe a golf ball you have that doesn't look like that, which I hope you do describe. But what's interesting for Callaway is that there has been this market leader that has positioned themselves as the professional's choice. And then you had a slew of other brands that you competed with in the beginning, especially where they were the bargain golf balls, let's say. And what I think is interesting, please share this, how you have come to differentiate Callaway, because you have a very, very pure position in the market as a premium ball. So you're not the low priced, you are a ball that professionals choose. How did you do that, and where do you differentiate your brand? Because, by the way, that's what Marcus and I do every day. We focus on differentiation. So how do you differentiate that thing with the little dimples and it's white? How do you do that?
I think, if you go all the way back to Mr. Callaway, he had a saying that, kind of it's on the wall here today still, which is DSPD, which is demonstrably superior and pleasingly different, right? And I think if you think about what those words mean, it means you've got a differentiated product in from a performance perspective, but also in potentially how it looks and makes the consumer feel. And I think that's really important. And frankly, it's in our DNA as a company, but it also is in the products that we bring to market. And I think some of the best examples of that that I can kind of portray is if you go back to that kind of key moment, 2014-ish, that I talked about. We came out with products that were frankly, different from anything else on the market, right? With Super Soft and Chrome Soft. And both those products, which by the way are our two best-selling products even to this day, were different from anything else on the market. Primarily because they were softer in their class, I will call it. But obviously that's just one component of it. Performance is there. But there's also been a couple other things that have really impacted our business along the way. And to your point of visual differentiation, right? We, in 2015, came out with a product called TrueViz, which was on our Chrome Soft golf ball, which is actually, it looks just like a soccer ball, right? So think of your traditional soccer ball with pentagons around it, 12 of them around the perimeter of the golf ball. And that was very different for the market. And it really helped establish us as doing something different. And a couple really fun stories about how that came about. We had finally gotten what I would call a little bit of momentum on our golf ball range, and brought out this new part of our lineup. And I will say it didn't come without some negative feedback at the same time, because it was so different, right? It was so untraditional. People really liked it for a variety of reasons. It made the ball look bigger. It was easier to track in the air. It just looked different. So people loved it for those reasons. But it also was a great way to get people to try our ball that maybe wouldn't have otherwise, because they were so established in what they did play. So it gave us a pretty unique way to get our product in people's hands, because it was different.
Well, a couple things I'll interject as a
Yep.
golf lover. First of all, I have contributed to your sales because of the number of golf balls I've lost. So
I like that. Losing golf balls is good for business.
I know. I knew that you would enjoy that. A couple of things I think are really important. You talked about the uniqueness of your golf balls. Okay, so number one, you mentioned soft. Our audience may not think, well, wait a minute, why do you want a golf ball that's soft? Why would you want that? You might want to share that. The other is with the patterns that are on the golf ball, it's not just decoration. It can also help the golfer as where she or he focus where they want to strike that ball. It's used for that purpose too. So it's interesting. I'd like you to talk about those two things, because those are differentiations that are not just surface level. Please go share both of those points, soft as well as the pattern.
Well, we'll start with soft. And like I said, that was a pretty important point in our history. And, not every golf ball we make would be considered soft by any stretch of the imagination. But, when you talk to consumers, feel is always something that always rises to the top of importance. So we're always very mindful of that. And, even at the professional level, you have different feel preferences, which come to life in many different ways. And really the hardest thing about it is there's not really, I always joke, there's not a feelometer, right? If you will, it's a very personal thing. Some judge feel more because of sound, some do it more because of the actual acoustics of it. So it comes to life in many different ways. But really, when we came out with Super Soft, meaningfully softer than anything else on the market, it really, people, talked about, oh my gosh, I love the feel of this. And there's a couple really key benefits. It helps you launch the ball up in the air a little bit more, which, unfortunately, many people struggle with, right? Particularly slower, less skilled golfers. Being able to get the ball up in the air is really important to their game, and it's going to actually help them hit it farther. So that's something that's really important. It also makes it more forgiving from an absolute technical perspective, but also in how it feels when you do miss it, right? We've all hit those shots that we don't quite hit in the center of the face. And with a softer golf ball, they have less, negativity to them, as you feel it. So it provides a, positive reaction with golfers as well. So all those things were really important. So that's been a pretty key component to what we've done. And like I said, in our, particularly in our Chrome family of golf balls, we have golf balls which are at the same level of firmness, if you will, as everybody else. But we also have those products that are more meaningfully differentiated on the soft side. And one of the big challenges typically with a softer golf ball is the speed or distance of it. And we've been able to find ways to maintain the feel or compression levels that we have in our golf balls. But with the technology and materials that we're using, we've been able to maintain the speed, which is something that really is a differentiation for us. Of we're able to make it soft, but still maintain all the speed that you're looking for, which has been a really big key for us. So that's on the soft side. From a visual technology perspective, you're right. We do things that I would call fun and are definitely much more in the decoration space. But we really do it to have fun, right? To give golfers something that they want. We recently came out with golf balls that had dinosaurs on them. We've done things like hot dogs in the past. We've done, suits of cards and things like that. Those are fun things. But really what's been the driving force for us has been the visual technologies, right? So TrueViz being the first one, we talked a little bit about that. And that did have benefits to golfers, right? It made the ball look bigger, which that gives people more confidence as they're hitting it. Makes it easier to see it as it flies through the air, right? For people who maybe, have eyesight that's not as good. It makes it easier to stand out on the golf course because it's got this bright, bold pattern, right, on it. So all those things are benefits there. And then the next key technology that we brought was called triple track technology, which at its simplest form is 3 lines on the golf ball. But to your point, it is very meaningful to the golfer. You primarily see the benefits on the putting green, right, where you can better align that. And we've seen that with golfers that they do align it better with a line. And, you could say, well, why don't you just put 1 line on it? Well, 3 is better because of a technology called vernier acuity, which is about how your eyes work. And actually, Dr. Carl Bassi was a big part of this, who's an optometrist with the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and did a lot of work in this area where there are contrasting color lines, so if you think about a couple of the best examples think about landing a plane on an aircraft carrier, right? You have 3 lines. I would say that's a pretty complicated task that you got to have some precision on, right? You're landing a plane on a boat that's moving, by the way, or the scope of a rifle where you have 3 lines as well. So all these things were very, precise things is the same technology. And, at the end of the day, it sounds overly simple to put 3 lines on a golf ball, but part of the magic behind it is, the work we put into, first and foremost, how do you put these things on a golf ball, right? They're straight lines on a round object, which frankly is a lot harder than you would think it is to begin with. But also there's a lot of magic in having those high contrast colors, which make it actually work better. And that's actually how we landed on the red and blue that it is today, is those contrasting colors. So to your point, right, there's a lot that goes into this, which is going to benefit the golfer. And for the most part, what we try and focus on is not only things that are visually different, but things that are visually different and beneficial to the golfer, which are also very important as well.
Obviously, there's talked about connecting with an optometrist to define art. It's incredible. Where do you balance that, right? Where do you balance the pursuit of innovation versus a consistent product for your customers that are expecting consistency? How do you balance things? But at the same time, you have to have a product that is, like I said, consistent. So where does that fall?
We want you to play. We want you to be more successful. We want you to be able to play the game and not feel like you're terrible. So I think it's that search of how do you help golfers become better, enjoy the game more. I think that's where you're going to have a much better, place with the mindset of golfers. And look, we had a benefit when we got into this with our brand, right? Callaway is a big golf brand, right? And so we had that when we started. But we didn't have that reputation as a golf ball company, if you will. And now we're to the point where golf ball is actually the single biggest category for Callaway Golf. And most people would not think that. They would think, woods or irons or any of those things. But golf ball is actually our biggest category.
When we get back, we're going to talk about the culture at Callaway, because you talked about Mr. Callaway, the company, and how that culture has bred this passion for innovation and for the game of golf. So all of our listeners will be back with Jason Finley of Callaway Golf. Stay tuned.
Difference Talks is a LaBeouf production. Our focus is differentiation, and we believe it's more important than ever to differentiate your brand and experience. Contact us at labeouf.com for a conversation. We'd love to connect with you.
Welcome back to Difference Talks. We are with Jason Finley of Callaway Golf. Before we go to Jason, I want the audience to remember something, or maybe understand something they didn't even know. If we look back in the history of golf equipment, there was a revolution many, many years ago, and it was this wood that turned into a metal driver. The metal driver, known as Big Bertha. At first, people were appalled by the idea. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. And then the rest of us hacks started hitting it, and we go, oh my gosh, this is so much better. And then pros did it. Well, guess what? That's a Callaway product. That's how Callaway got on the map. And that's who we're speaking to right now, a person who's been there for nearly 30 years. Marcus, take it away with Jason as we start the second half.
Sure can. Yeah, Jason, you've kind of talked about these pivot moments too, these moments in history. Barry, you just brought up one where you've changed course. You were kind of a challenger. Now you're a leader, right? You're setting the industry standard on some level. Tell us a little bit, when you get to that level, how important and powerful consumer storytelling and anecdotes and those types of things are so powerful to not just, the pros, but also the everyday golfers like myself and Barry. Why is that so powerful? I could feel the passion coming from you, Jason. Tell us about it.
Going all the way back to Big Bertha, you're right. That was very untraditional and very different for the market at the time, but it was all about satisfying golfers, right? It hit the ball farther. It was more forgiving. Did it look a little goofy for its time? For sure. But now you look at it and it'd be looking like tiny, right? We have 3 woods that are bigger than that original Big Bertha driver, right? But for its time, it was meaningfully different for the golfer, not only from a performance perspective, but what it did. And it's like most things, right? As I was an early adopter to it, and I went out and started playing it, and we were playing together, the 3 of us, and you guys were like, wow, he's hitting it way farther than he ever has. I got to get one of those too, or let me try that, right? So that's the way golf works, right? Because it's a passion-driven thing. It goes back to this idea that nobody has to have a new driver, but I tell you what, if they think they're going to hit it farther and it's going to make them play better, they have to have it, and they'll do anything they can to spend money on it, right? And so being able to deliver on those needs and knowing what is important to golfers, but also doing it in a responsible way from delivering that performance, I think those 2 things together are really important. So it's that combination of, inspiring golfers, but also having the performance to back it up. It's really at the heart of what we do every single day. And I think that really goes back to this idea that we talked about, early on, which goes all the way back to the very beginning, which was this idea of DSPD, of demonstrably superior and pleasingly different. And it's not uncommon that, I'll sit in a meeting and somebody will ask the question of, well, is that DS and is that PD, right? Well, we will talk about those things even today.
As you're talking about this, you're talking about your culture. This is all about the culture of Callaway. Marcus and I spoke with Sal Syed, who I think you know from Arcos, and he spoke to us about how Callaway was an early adopter and was very, very much involved with their
Yep.
Historically amazing golf technology. That speaks to the culture of Callaway. You did not stand back, say, we're going to take it safe. You didn't kind of go, look, we're going to sit this one out and watch everybody else. Just like you did with Big Bertha, you jumped in. Describe the culture of Callaway and how it has helped you grow and flourish.
We are a product company first and foremost, and always will be, right? That's at the backbone of everything that we do. But it is really important for us to be close to the golfer, to understand, not only the people that are using our products, but our customers, right? Like if you go back to some of the earliest days and look at the landscape of our customer base, very different than it is today, right? And even if you think about the dynamics of the marketplace, right? When we launched Big Bertha, you could either get it at the few retail stores that existed, because there wasn't many of them, right? Or you could get it at your local pro shop. Now today that has evolved to, sporting goods retailers, selling golf, to a lot more of the what I would call big box golf retail, to some of the mom and pop shops, to fitting centers, to your local pro shop. There a lot of people are getting fit for their golf clubs now and balls before they buy them. So having that product performance as part of that, and having those fitters that are, really are salesmen for us out in the field, being close to them, having them understand your product, what they do, how they do it, has definitely evolved. But again, it all goes back to being close to golfers, being close to our customers, and above and beyond anything else, having products that work and perform. And one of the earliest sayings I go back to our original golf ball. So our original golf ball, Mr. Callaway named Rule 35. And do you know the history of that and why that is what it is?
Well, I do, but please share it.
So Rule 35, there are 34 official rules of golf. So we wanted to make Rule 35 enjoy the game. So when we came out with our very first golf ball, it was called Rule 35. So this idea of, we're going to give you a product that is going to help you enjoy the game more, whether you're a tour player, because guess what? If tour players, they want to get better too. To the person that's just starting the game, whoever it may be, at whatever part in their golf journey they are, we want them to enjoy the game more, and we want them to get better. And that goes back in everything that we do. And whether it's, we've evolved our, soft goods performance gear. So think about bags and all that, things that, you wouldn't necessarily think as equipment, but they're all part of how you play the game. We've got products in our lineup from the very best players in the world that are winning major championships on the major tours, to, Mrs. Smith that's starting the game at maybe 55 years old as she retires, right? We've got products that cover the gamut there, to juniors and everything. And I can walk around the building and I can find, hundreds of other people that are just like me, that's important to. And people that have lived this brand for a variety of different reasons, right? I mean, I've been here 28 years, and there's probably 100 people in this building that have been here longer than me, right? That's pretty rare in today's day and age, and I think it speaks a lot to, our culture and why people want to be a part of this.
Jason, one thing we like to ask towards the end here is your best day. What does your best day look like? And it's a day at the end of that day, you're not just going home and hitting the sack and going to bed. It's like, I feel energized because I got to work with our team, or we innovated and did something really special, worked with our R&D, something like that really sent you home feeling very energized. What did that day look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I think I would come up with a couple of things. First of all, first and foremost, I'm a pretty competitive person. So anytime you get, wins, whether it's market share or financials,
Sure.
or things like that, that stuff usually makes me feel pretty good.
Sure. Yep.
But I think one of the things that I enjoy most about my job every day is just the breadth of it, right? So I like to say that it's not uncommon that I go through a day, and today's a great example, right? I'm doing this with you. I had a call with our European team already this morning. I have a call after this with the operations team back at our golf ball plant. and I have a meeting for future products with R&D this afternoon, right? So I get to do a lot of different things in and around, the business, which I really enjoy, because it's not like I'm just going and doing the same thing over and over every single day. So those to me are the best days, the days when, you get to be involved in a lot of things and see some exciting new products. Like, I know when I go to an R&D meeting this afternoon, then I'm going to learn something that I didn't know, whether it's, about a new product that we're testing and working on, or a new technology, or a new way to communicate a technology, perhaps, which is going to help the golfer. Just the world is changing so much, right? So how do we better leverage all the tools that we have to bring more products to life? So, it could be new materials that we learn about. So I think to simplify your question, it's having wins is what really makes me happy, but it's also, thinking about what the future can be to deliver more wins. So I guess it all comes back to that.
Jason, great answer, because you almost described probably the way you look at golf. You want to play really well some days, but you want to improve. You want to constantly search for the next opportunity to get a little better. And that's how you approach Callaway every day. I hope our audience has really enjoyed this, because I guarantee there will be thousands of people that go, I had no idea there was so much technology and so much testing and so much research that goes into that little thing with the little dimples. Oh my gosh, that little thing that I lose 4, 5, 6 times around, and I have to buy more of. Thank you for being with us today. Your energy is fantastic. Callaway's an iconic brand, and it has been absolutely a pleasure to be with you today. So on behalf of Marcus McMillan, my partner, this has been Difference Talks. Thank you, Jason Finley of Callaway Golf.
Thank you for joining us on Difference Talks. All of us at LeBeau are proud to celebrate great people with inspiring messages. Difference Talks was created, produced, engineered, and performed by the LeBeau team. Even the music is original. Contact us at lebeau.com to learn how to differentiate your brand and give your team a sense of significance and meaning.